Hey, Chris, Ron here. How you doing?
Hi, Ron. Doing great. And boy, this is a really cogent, very on point topic for buying groups today that we're going to go into. Everyone, we're going to be talking today about pricing groups and some of the benefits and capabilities within pricing groups. And Ron, I think this could be one of the most important. I mean, if you think about it, really, if not the most important for many folks, capabilities within a buying group, right?
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, the summary here is there's a lot of nuance to this, but essentially, the kind of purpose of a group purchasing organization or buying group, in addition to a lot of other capabilities around logistics and presenting value with the data itself, aggregating information across the industry, et cetera. At the end of the day, there's kind of the fundamental purpose is being able to purchase things at discount by buying them in a bulk quantity. And this presents a win-win opportunity for the vendors, the distributors, the manufacturers, et cetera. So, how do we present this to the buyers, to the members? And then, how do we also make this kind of presentation and this workflow optimized for your organization so that you're not stuck in the middle dealing with a lot of logistics? A lot of buying groups have to do things manually in order to deal with the complexity. And what we want to talk about today is some of the areas that you can immediately take advantage of to enable self service and really kind of incentivize and create an upward spiral of activity within your buying group. So that's really the topic today. And just kind of to start us out, Ron, I would love it if you would talk about just kind of a high level, just kind of some of the concepts that we're going to go into, and then we can start kind of picking through those one by one.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Chris. So, one of the things I think you need to really start with is why do you have pricing groups in the first place? I mean, we already understand that buying groups is about getting a better deal, right? I mean, that's really kind of why we do buying groups. Why do they have Sam's Clubs and Costco's and things like that? Is because people can go and buy in bulk. And if we have people buying in bulk and in large quantities, then Costco can go to the manufacturers and get a better deal, and then they can sell in bulk. And it's kind of a win win for everybody, right? We get 27 bottles of ketchup at a time at a deal, and they get to get ketchup at a lot better deal and have a better thing. And Heinz can sell a lot more ketchup. I mean, it's kind of a simple thing like that. But if you think about it as you owning the buying group platform, how can your buyers benefit, right? Because if they benefit, they're going to come back and buy more from you, right? So really you ultimately benefit. So how can they benefit? One, how can your vendors benefit? Two, and how can you benefit? Three. If you think through all those different scenarios, that's kind of what we're going to cover today, right? So for example, with Costco, you have a membership or you don't. So you think that's it. That's the only thing they can do. Lo and behold, I got marketed to a few years ago about an executive membership. And an executive membership, and I don't remember, Chris, you remember, is it 1% or 2% back? I can't remember, but instead of $55 a year, it cost me $110 a year, but we were buying a lot from Costco. So I upgraded to an executive membership, which made Costco, and you can imagine how many millions of users upgraded to the executive membership. And so they immediately doubled for all of those members the annual fee just by offering this new thing. So that's one option, right? So do we have different levels of pricing groups? Do we have different levels of quantity breaks that you might get on a product? If you order 1,000 a month or sell 1,000 a month, they're going to give you X price. But if you could sell more than 1,000 a month, do you get another 10% off? Great. How can we figure out how to give a little bit bigger discount or bundle those together so you can now make that additional discount, right? So today we're going to kind of dive into some of the things like logistics around discounts and promotions, discounts around grouping them into different roles. For example, resellers might come in and get a different price than a distributor, might get a different price than a wholesaler. When they log in automatically, does the platform know who they are and auto adjust the prices based on their role to create those different groups? Can we group things together and allow them to do things? One of the last things that we talk about is lists. Do we make it easier for them to come back and buy from you, especially buying in bulk, than to go anywhere else? And I really want to cover that one because I think that one's a great one. So, first off, let's just kind of go down through this first one. The better the deal, the more they're going to buy, right? I mean, it's just kind of a gut check there. Why do we buy 27 bottles of ketchup from Costco? We don't need that many. But the fact is they bundle it that way. I mean, every time I go and I have to get ketchup, they're like 64 ounce, they're huge 64-ounce bottles, and they're in a 2-pack, right? And you have to buy it that way. When you go buy a loaf of bread there, it's always a 2 loaf. You can't buy a single loaf of bread there, right? So the way they bundle things, right, might cause them to buy more. Um, the most important thing about this is to keep the accurate inventory. And we're going to go into this quite heavily because of the supply chain and the vendors that are supplying you. You have to be able to keep accurate inventory, because if people are buying from you and you don't have accurate inventory, they're going to bounce, they're going to go elsewhere, they're going to not think things are available. So I know there's this fine line and this dance between, you always hear people say, keep your displayed inventory low to create a sense of urgency, right? I can't tell you the number of times I've heard that. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But on the other hand, if in this case with buying groups, if people are buying in bulk, and I've got most people buying in quantities of 2 and half a dozen, and so I don't want to put more than show 20, but then all of a sudden I've got a wholesaler that wants to come buy 100, and they come look at the website, see there's only 20, and they don't buy, when in actuality you've got 1,000 and you just lost out on your biggest sale. So there's a fine line between what you may and may not show. Maybe you show a different inventory to the different groups, so when they log in, wholesalers see the bulk inventory and how many you really have in stock, right? Maybe that's completely different. The ability for the platform to create quantity-based discounts, especially for wholesalers, distributors, and larger purchasers, which might roll into the next one, which is either, a lot of people call it customer-specific pricing, account-specific pricing, and then membership level pricing, right? Are there a difference between bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond members? Do they get a different price? Is there a different membership cost? Are there different benefits that each of those groups get to purchase said levels? And then being able to, discounts are tough. And so you want to make sure you have a platform. And I might bring up a screenshot of our platform here just to kind of give you an idea. The ability to, and I'm just thinking through what our UI looks like when I create a discount here, so I can kind of go down the screen here. At the top here, I can decide, do I want to apply this to the order, to a specific product? Am I going to do some kind of like a BOGO, right? Or in our particular case, we allow a buy X, get Y free. So it could be something like buy 10, get 2 free. So you can create any number and give any number. Are they combinable? Do they have a start and end date? Is it $1% off, or is it a percentage off? Are we applying this to a particular category of products only? Before school, you see a lot of things where, you can always remember, I remember growing up, mom would always go to Penny's before school because they would have, tax-free weekend on all clothing before school. So all us kids did our shopping right before, the week before school. Going further down, combinable, auto applied. Can I combine this discount? If I can't combine this discount so people can stack coupons, then can I set a priority on them so I can decide which ones to apply first? Or does the platform, like our platform, will go through, if people apply multiple and they're non-stackable or combinable, we'll actually calculate them and pick which one gives them the biggest dollar amount off the order and auto apply that one. Is one auto applied? If you order at least $500, you get free shipping. Well, if they're ordering remote, it's pretty nice to know, do you give them a total or a running subtotal in the microcard up above, and a reminder that, hey, if you hit 500, you get free shipping. And we're going to talk about some of that, because some of that's pretty complex, and we do that, and it's really fun. So let's go ahead, and I want to dive into some of the lists, right, Chris? So why don't you take over and especially cover, when you get to the bottom of this one, I really want to cover the tracking, especially when it comes to these international ones that we've done, where we're tracking the containers. We've got 3 or 4 of those types of projects going right now. And what I'll do is I'll try to bring a couple, when Chris gets to this part, I'll bring a couple screenshots up.
Absolutely. So one of the things too, just kind of going back to the pricing for a moment and then diving into the lists that is really powerful is with the pricing and the inventory data. And we talk about this a lot. So a lot of folks that are listening, you may already be aware of this and thinking about this, but one of the biggest challenges is the logistics of bringing the data in and integrating that seamlessly. And that's something that we absolutely want to encourage you to be thinking about. It's not just a matter of what is the capability of your buying group platform and your group purchasing software, but it's also a matter of how are you going to integrate the data and not just bring it over once, but in real time as needed, continually have that data flowing back and forth between the various systems. And that can be a huge logistical challenge. So we encourage you to work with a partner like Clarity who has a lot of experience with this, leveraging an integration platform, being able to kind of help you and guide you and your team along the process of, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and maybe even based on the phase that you're at with the business, what makes sense at this phase, and what should you be planning for. And I think this is great going into just kind of very high level some of the, just on the pricing lists, and then diving right on into some of the wish lists and some of that functionality as well. So the very high level here is, first of all, whenever somebody is working within the application, and they are typically, they're busy, they may be a purchaser, they may be some form of manager or leader within the organization that's making the purchase. Maybe it's someone who's opening up multiple new franchise locations, for example. They're going to typically be pretty busy. And one of the biggest challenges for any of these organizations is consistency across all of the different locations or across all of the different people within their organization. And most buying groups, they end up working with members who are going to, kind of span the spectrum, and they may be large or small. But frankly, the more that we can consistently give them access to best practices, so actually creating lists that are kind of suggestions or templates for them that say, we are the buying group.
Like a
Yeah, almost like a
checklist.
checklist. We're the buying group, and we see and we're aggregating this data, and we're removing any kind of private or sensitive data, but we are basically going to give you suggestions based on what's happening in your space, and possibly based on the location. Like there may be different kits or templates for making purchases for like a pool group. And depending on the location, it might be a lot hotter in one location and a lot more, kind of temperate, or even maybe it's more, it rains more, so we might have different regions that you guys make templates for. Maybe it's different industries and specializations. Maybe you make different templates for making purchases that are kind of like, hey, if you purchase from this wish list or from this shopping list, it has built-in quantity discounts at your membership level that allow you to capitalize on these recommended discount levels. And so these are just some interesting ideas for how you can kind of take advantage of the knowledge that you have. And this is something that's really big within the buying group and group purchasing spaces. A lot of buying groups and group purchasing organizations don't necessarily take advantage of and really help deliver the value that they can with their knowledge and with their exposure to this kind of aggregated information within the space. So you want to be thinking about these shared lists as an opportunity to really serve and kind of not just provide a utility, but also provide a kind of set of guidance and almost kind of like a mentoring of these purchasers who are members. This can really help them out a lot. Now, in addition to that, they can also create their own lists. They can create their own kind of sets of items that they need to purchase based on their own internal practices. And then this can even be granularly controlled so that they can share these lists internally, but maybe they restrict what roles have access to them. Maybe within your organization, the buying group, you're going to restrict what memberships have access to what lists. So maybe you provide a automatically discounted set of items like you were talking about earlier with the auto applied discounts. And that's just part of being a member that's a silver member or a gold member, or it could be based on rewards. If you purchase this amount of items every year, this dollar amount or this percentage of your goal, etc., then you get these other resources. So some really cool things that you can do. It's also possible to have third parties build these lists. So a pretty interesting idea would be to work with some of the vendors, some of the manufacturers, distributors, and say, hey, what are you seeing in this industry? And provide this as a service to your members. What are you seeing within this industry that's really happening and changing? And it's going to be kind of a paradigm shift over time here. And how can we get this in front of our members to help them become aware of it in advance? And so maybe they put together their own lists. And maybe it includes training and resources so that folks can get up to speed. Anyway, you get the point. And the main idea here is that we want to be looking for ways to add a lot of value uh, while still having that utility. So we're still within these lists. We're going to be sharing all of the detail about the pricing, the quantity discounts, presenting the inventory, like you were talking about, Ron, being able to really kind of get into the weeds. Well, one of the other big pieces that a lot of folks don't necessarily think about is dealing with the logistics and making sure that we're able to kind of consistently present the data that the buyers, the members need. And this is another facet of these lists. So, one of the concepts in general that if you've listened to our webinars before, you've heard us talk about this, but it's basically having an alert system or essentially a capability to set a search criteria within the application and set a notification model. So it could be text, email, the inbox within the application. It could be all three. It could be some other form of notification. And then this will, at the frequency desired and as quickly as the user specifies, so with immediately, within an hour, every week, whatever, it can notify them when something hits their search criteria. So if inventory becomes available. Well, within buying groups, a lot of what you see is there are different group purchases that are occurring, and members need to participate in order to meet the quantity discount break. And this is really challenging from a logistics perspective for some organizations because they may have to fill a container in order to get the bulk discount that they're getting as a buying group. And the different members need to be able to do the split payment and the split shipment on that container that gets filled up. And it's represented to the manufacturer or the distributor as a complete order, a single complete order. But for every one of the members, it's getting distributed individually. So we're going to have intermodal shipments potentially. We're going to have all the associated tracking, being able to see what the shipping costs are, customs and duties, taxes, etc. All of this is kind of capability logistically and integration wise within the different ERPs and the different line of business applications that we specialize in. And this is kind of the nuts and bolts of making all of this self-service work. And Ron, I would be curious to hear your thoughts on this as well. To me, those are some of the really key aspects whenever we're looking at kind of taking advantage of these purchases, these bulk purchases. There are a lot of logistics, and being able to present that consistently to the user, that's really a necessity to make this work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got quite a few different clients we've worked with. I'll try to throw out some generic options here. So we've got one client that one of their biggest customers is Home Depot. And so when Home Depot orders, you might have the West Coast purchasing manager buying all the nuts and bolts from our client whose factory is in Taiwan. And they know it costs $1,500 per container to ship a container across from Taiwan. And so they need to be able to go in and order literally millions of nuts and bolts and combinations of that in a single sitting. And they need to be able to do it rapidly and quickly and almost monthly. So the ability to recreate these lists and have things that they can commonly go in very quickly and just go, I just need to reorder. All I need to do, this is my complete list. It's already built out. I just need to change a couple quantities, add to cart, and I'm done. But as I'm adding to the cart, because the quantities are changing every month, I need a tracker, and this is where I'm going to show a couple screenshots on the screen here. I've got 2 or 3 different clients we're literally building out right now as we speak. That up above at the top here, you can see in the header where it's got the container, it's got the load, and it's literally tracking in real time as the purchasing agent is adding things to the cart. It's telling them how full that cart is. So what Chris was talking about was kind of the buying group purchasing, and we've done. I won't name their name, but there's a big county out in eastern U.S., huge, and they've got a lot of townships. And we designed and built their marketplace for them. And this is a marketplace where one town might have been able to afford a snowplow. None of the other towns around can. And so not only do they use the snowplow when it snows, but they want to be able to put it up on the marketplace and allow other townships to come in and bid a price and potentially rent their snowplow and schedule their snowplow. Because they're doing the snowplow and it has salting capabilities, and the township that owns the snowplow knows that if they buy at least 1,000 pounds at a time, that they can get a discount. They might come in and go, for all of those of you planning on potentially renting our truck this year, we're going to go out and buy salt next month in preparation. In order to get a discount, we need to do up to 1,000 pounds. Everybody put in and tally your orders in. And so each township could go in and go, hey, I'm in for 200 pounds or whatever it is. And they can go in. And this is the one Chris was just talking about where, Chris could go in and put 200 pounds, put his credit card in or his account or whatever, and it adds it basically to the order and tallies it at 200, and then it kind of still holds the order. And then I might come in for Ron Town and I go ahead and put in, my town's a little smaller, so I put 100 pounds in. And so as soon as it hits 1,000 pounds, then it notifies the town that owns the truck, and they can go and actually place the order and get the discount and get the salt, right? So there's the buying power of group purchasing, which is kind of what Chris was talking about. And then mine is when you're doing bulk purchasing and you're trying to track, if I'm going to order 1,000 units, but I could order 2,000 units. If I knew if I ordered just another 500 units, I'd get free shipping, or I could order up to another 500 and fit it on that container, which isn't going to cost me shipping next month. And I have warehouse room to store those 500. That would be nice to know, because I might go ahead and buy those extra 500 now and buy 2,500 units, because now I've filled the container. It's a flat rate of $1,500 to ship that container across. So I got free shipping on 500 units all the way from Taiwan. That's a big deal, right? So that's part of what some of these screenshots I've shown here is as they're filling these containers and they're shipping, especially intermodally and internationally, and shipping costs can get very high. They need to be able to track and figure out exactly where they are as they're adding orders to their containers and their crates and things like that. So Chris kind of mentioned a little bit before about the ability to connect, and this one I called connecting your ecosystem, right? So Chris, I want you to kind of go in, and this is kind of agnostic to any platform that they buy, right? If they buy Clarity's platform, great, then we're already interconnected with our Connect platform, but they could buy any platform out there, and maybe that platform does not have the ability to connect, and they might need to come to Clarity and use our Connect platform to help. So whether they come to us for Connect or the platform, or whether they go with other third parties, just make sure, and we're going to deep dive now into the different types of integrations and connections. So I want you to go ahead and dive in and talk really about the integration platform and the capabilities and how that really applies to buying groups and why it's so important.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ron. And this to me is kind of the basis for why we built the Clarity e-commerce platform. Really what happened is about a decade ago, whenever we were working with many of our clients, we were using off the shelf tools for the e-commerce, and in particular for buying groups, group purchasing organizations. There are a lot of customizations that are necessary. And if you think about it, those customizations have kind of a downstream impact on integration requirements. So the clients are scaling their business. We're working with them and we're trying to help them scale the software so that the software is essentially serving the business, and the business is able to be kind of unbridled and just kind of go and continue to grow and scale. And one of the biggest kind of inhibitors to that is allowing customers, the members of the buying group, to be able to self-service. And this is truly what creates kind of like a linear relationship between staff size and the ability for, a company to grow. It's a linear relationship if you don't have this self-service capability. If you do, though, if you can enable self-service, and this is typically done through these robust integrations, then you kind of decouple in from this linear relationship with having to have more staff to do more manual activities and manual support as you scale up your buying group. So really, this is kind of the crux of why, like I said, we made our own platform, is so that in most cases, clients, especially with buying groups, they have complex needs that off-the-shelf tools won't meet. A lot of those off-the-shelf tools have very specific requirements to customize them that essentially paint a customer into a corner. And so, whether or not you work with our buying group platform, our group purchasing organization software, or not, like you said, Ron, the next piece then is, after you've gotten your platform doing what you want it to do, then you've got to integrate it within your back office system for your ERP. You may have, depending on what industry you're in, you may have a manufacturing or a PIM management system as well, and possibly other logistical applications that you're working with. Of course, you'll probably, depending on where you're shipping to and you're fulfilling to, you may have customs and duties and taxes, of course. I mean, really, the list goes on. Of course, the payment gateway, payment processor as well. So there are a lot of systems you're going to be integrating with. So the bottom line for these systems is, if you think about your workflow and you think about what a customer's experience is going to be, especially with a buying group, they're going to be looking to get sophisticated information that's very precise about the large quantity purchase and possibly the complex order fulfillment, where they may have multiple locations. They may have a split payment model that they need to implement, and they may have to have complex billing where it's, possibly purchasing on account based on an account balance that they already have. Maybe they're going to be splitting out all the invoices across multiple locations, and those have to get integrated into their maybe a punch out catalog. Um, I mean, the list of different variations really truly does go on. Maybe they have a multi-step approval process that we need to know about, and be able to keep synced with the different roles and users within their organization. Well, how in the world are you going to do all these things and scale your organization? And so we really leverage an integration platform to do that. And the idea behind the integration platform is going to be a two-way data sync that can run in real time. It can run periodically. It can do both. And it's going to need to be persistent, so that if, for example, your buying group software is running and taking orders, but for whatever reason, there's maintenance on the ERP, or possibly the payment gateway isn't working properly, we still want to be able to process things and maybe kind of complete parts of the steps and persist the data depending on what other dependent system is offline. And then be able to persist that data through to the offline system whenever it comes back online. You don't want to have a situation where someone can't place an order on your website as a member because your ERP is undergoing maintenance and patching. And so the integration platform is really key to be able to handle those type of scenarios with the persistence. The other kind of big factors with an integration platform is it allows you to not just kind of have spaghetti code where you're kind of setting everything up and you're intermingling it. Think of like two different colors of Play-Doh that you're mixing together. Whenever you set up an buying group platform, a lot of times, depending on what vendor you work with, they may actually set everything up manually within the buying group software for the integrations. And this kind of lack of normalization or lack of separation between the buying group software and the other line of business applications, ERP, CRM, customer support, etc. That basically makes it so that it's like mixing two colors of Play-Doh, And whenever you go to upgrade your buying group software or upgrade your ERP or upgrade your CRM, it's very expensive and it's traumatic. It can create a lot of overhead for your customers, etc. And so this is just kind of from a principle perspective, some of the key things. Now, we can put a list on the screen to show some of the different ERPs, CRMs, line of business applications, and show you some of the logos of some of the different platforms we work with and different payment gateways, different shipping and logistics resources, as well as kind of the standards. And really, what we want you to take from this is essentially we can work with anyone that has essentially an API or a desire and ability to be integrated to. We've pretty much done it for any of the most popular platforms out there, and for quite a few of the nuanced kind of very very industry specific platforms as well. Now, the next thing that a lot of folks will want to know is, what are some of the common things that make sense to integrate with? Well, we also have a list of those. And so we can show those on the screen as well. But obviously, we need the base data, and we need to be able to integrate the base information. So this is going to be your customers, the customer address information, all of the customers' order history, if that makes sense to bring in, their contact info, the different users or contacts within the organization, what their roles are, what kind of access they should have, the pricing list and the pricing groups for the customer, um, the ability to get all of the orders, invoices, quotes, and all of the detailed line items for those, any discounts, any kind of tracking, any detailed information about returns, return requests. And then fundamentally within the platform itself, we also need categories, subcategories, all of the products and all of the variants or kits, any discounts, any, again, price lists, inventory. Again, the list really does go on. But the point is that these are things that you need to ask for whenever you're interviewing a potential buying group software company. You need to ask about these things because if you're thinking about where you want to go over the next 3 to 5 years and how you can be the best steward of building this software for your members, they're going to need these things as you scale in order to get that self-service that they need. Some of the other interesting things that we want to point out here are that not only do we need the data in the system, but we need it to be actionable. So it's really, really important to be able to have stock counts, price updates, detailed tracking information that's really flowing between the systems in an intelligent way. So does the integration have the ability to leverage workflows and really heavily just kind of remove friction, substantially remove any friction from the process, both for your internal team and for your members as well? And Ron, I'm curious, what your thoughts are on this and some of the experiences you've had and what you've seen, maybe around this integration side that you want to kind of share here for folks as well.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, so Chris covered very heavily the important one, which is the internal integrations with your own back office platform, where you're really synchronizing your data between your CRM and your ERP and your PIM and your warehouse management system and all that kind of stuff. The other part of that that he kind of alluded to that I've got more on the screen here about is the external integrations, right? If we're doing a lot of external connecting where you're not doing the warehousing, your vendors are in your supply chain. And that's kind of what I've highlighted here. So I wanted to make sure that Chris and the screenshots we brought up a few seconds ago really are talking about all the internal integrations. And that's where it all starts. That's kind of automating your business processes. And we've literally done thousands of integrations. I mean, pick your poison, we've probably integrated it. And if you want to schedule a demo and get on with me, I'll be happy to show you all the integrations we've done and talk through. I keep a list of all the recent integrations we've done over the last couple of years. And at last count, I've been here 10 and a half years. We've done over 4,000 integrations. So most of them, I'm usually pretty surprised when an application comes in that I haven't heard. I've only had 3 in the last 2 years that have come in that we hadn't integrated before, and we're actually integrating them just fine. So really, the platform has to be able to handle any and all types of integrations, whether that's EDI, API, database, file formatted, custom, doesn't really matter. You need a robust platform that can integrate all of them. And then, kind of as Chris said, all the internals of being able to automate your business practices is huge. And then a couple things just to touch base on mine. I'll focus a little more on the external. Chris kind of talked about the customs and duties and shipping costs and things like that. And that could be both internal and external. It could be on the outbound side of putting together and pre-formatting the shipping label so you send it along with the order. Conversely, on the inbound side, it could be that while somebody is trying to put together their order from the warehouse in Taiwan and they're in Canada, how much is it going to cost to ship? You want to be able to give them an accurate shipping cost if it's relatively expensive. And so you need that inbound information to know. Chris alluded heavily on the stock counts and things like that. That could be coming from your own warehouse. That could be coming from hundreds of vendors. And so you need to make sure that when we have these external integrations on the outbound side, we're sending and pre-formatting the orders to those vendors for drop shipping appropriately. If that includes, if it's an international shipment, then does that also include any customs and duties forms? Do we auto charge VAT tax or GST if we have to? Do we include and print the shipping label, which we've done all of those historically before with different projects? What happens if we connect? We've got one client right now that we've connected with 18 of their distributors, and we did all of the e-commerce storefronts for those distributors as well. And so one of the things we automated, since the master distributor came to us first, the supplier came to us and had us build their system out and integrate it with their back office ERP, happened to be NetSuite. And then they said for all of their master 17 distributors, they want us to build their storefront so they can sell the products there. But then they wanted us to integrate all 18 NetSuite installations. So if a distributor was starting to run low in stock, they didn't have to worry about it. Our platform automatically knew what that was and automatically generated a PO and sent it to the master distributor, who then backfilled in their inventory. So we fully automated their inventory and warehousing for all 18 distributors across the US. Automated price changes. As gas prices went up and price changes went up, the master distributor could update the price, and then every other distributor had their prices calculated as an uplift off cost. And because the cost was updated and we propagated that to the other 17 distributors, it auto uplifted the appropriate amount, so everybody still had their margin. So there's a lot of different optimizations there with that integration that you can do. And those are just a few. Love to get on a call with you guys and talk through some of those. The last section here, Chris, that I'd really like to talk about is how do you increase? To increase revenue is pretty simple, right? Improve loyalty, improve conversions, improve retention. It's just a simple thing. Right? We work literally with clients for years to try to increase revenue, and there are 100 different ways to do it. But if one of the easiest ways to do that, and this is one of my philosophies, make it easier for your customers to reorder from you than it is to order from any other option. If you do that, it's really easy to improve customer retention and customer loyalty. Because if I offer the ability to go in and create a shopping list, just give an example of a shopping list here. I've got 5 different shopping lists because Clarity has 5 different buckets of types of employees that need different hardware configurations. Back-end integration specialists need 27 monitors and a really robust machine. The marketing people just need lots of monitors, right, and a laptop. The ops team, they're doing all the invoicing and everything, so they need a different machine. So we've got all these different configurations and desks and monitors and all this kind of stuff. And because we're 100% remote, every time we hire a person, we need to place an order for a package of 40 different things besides, the desk, the chairs, the monitor, computers, mouse, printer, paper, all that kind of stuff. Can you imagine for the ops team? I think right now we have 27 open recs around the world right now, right? Can you imagine how difficult it would be for every single employee if they had to start from scratch every time and remember to order every single piece of equipment that they were supposed to order for every employee? Whereas if they had a shopping list called back-end developer, new employee, and they go in and say, we just hired 3 back-end developers. So they go in, change the quantity to 3, add to cart, check out. And then it comes to the split shipping, and they go, okay, we hired Ron. Here's his address. Ship one of each to him. Here's Chris. Ship one of each to him. And here's Janine. Ship one of each to her. Great. Makes it really super simple for the ops team, doesn't it? You know they're going to come back and buy from you if they can do something in 10 minutes that would normally take them an hour or more to do from somebody else, or potentially from other groups. They have to order parts of it from Staples, parts of it from whatever, right, from different places. So one of the things that I love, and I've kind of titled this one, Lists Create Returning Customers. The more lists you can have, the better. If you can create a list as the procurement manager and then share that list with everybody in ops so they can reuse that list, better, right? If I have a wish list that's a deprecated list, like somebody's getting married, you put the list, and as each person picks an item off the list, it deletes the item off the list. So hopefully the list dies and they got everything they wanted from their wish list, right? That's a typical wish list. It self dies as it is self-fulfilling. Whereas a shopping list is the one that I just said. I've got every single month we hire employees, and I want a list that has a full baked list of all 27 things that I need every time I hire a new backend developer. I just want to be able to go in and change the quantity and hit add to cart. So that might be a shopping list. You've got your favorites list. Chris mentioned briefly a minute ago about the scouts. I've got some favorites, some things that we buy often. Let's say for clarity, we buy a lot of computers, right? We have a lot of developers. We buy servers all the time. I think the last server we bought was like $500,000 and it was fully custom made. But let's say we bought some cheaper servers. We bought them a lot and we bought them from a specific website. Maybe we want to set up a scout and it has a list of the 3 different servers that we buy regularly. And so we want to track if those things ever go on sale below X, automatically notify us because we're going to go stock up. We know we buy 10, 15, 20 servers a year. And if they ever go on sale and we know we can save money, let's just go buy a few. And that would be like a scout that Chris talked about briefly a minute ago. So there's all kinds of lists. Something's out of stock. We know that we need it. As soon as it gets back in stock, I need to be notified ASAP because I need to run back out and buy some of them very quickly before they run out again because they're critical to our operation. So out of stock inventory lists. So we've kind of covered wish lists, favorites lists, out of stock lists, scouting lists, shopping lists. And any other lists or anything, Chris, that you can think of right now? I know we're talking strictly about lists, just in the Clarity platform, and this is really something you're going to want to look at. We have 8 different out-of-the-box methods that people could come reorder from you. We've got a quick add capability. We've got a bulk import. If they've got a spreadsheet with 1,000 items, they can bulk import that, add them all to the cart in one click. 8 different ways to make it easier to buy from you than go anywhere else. That is the key, no matter what the platform is. Is there anything else you want to add to this one before we kind of tie off this section?
Just in general, I would say I think you hit on a lot of key things there, and I would just kind of reinforce something we talked about earlier, which is thinking about how you can add value to your members. It's a really nice kind of option, especially within this space, to be able to see it as not just a kind of utility that you're providing, but also being able to aggregate data and kind of remove any kind of sensitive information from it, and then be able to present relevant kind of essentially objective data about the space and make some really cogent recommendations for the users. I mean, think about it. You're probably in a position to make some of the best recommendations that they could possibly get. You can almost think of it as like a mastermind group, essentially, where you're going to be able to provide them with information that doesn't put other members at risk, but can kind of aggregate what's working well, what's selling well, what works for different scenarios, and even provide training and resources to go along with some of these lists and concepts. So that would be the only other thing I would say, Ron. And I think for folks who are listening, one of the things that we want to leave you with is that there is a lot of nuance per buying group. There may be specific integrations, there may be specific details around the pricing and the possibly hard and soft stops logic that you have, the split shipments, split payments, some of the the logistics and the fulfillment, customs and duties. Really, the list goes on. It can be very nuanced. That is why we encourage you to reach out to us for complimentary discovery, and we mean that. If there isn't a good fit, we'll certainly let you know for us to work together directly and help you find companies that you can work with that will be a good fit. And we really see it as a long term opportunity for any clients that we are able to serve. And so that's why we like doing the complimentary discovery up front. It really helps to put everyone into kind of a solid foundation before moving ahead. Again, whether or not we're able to help you directly or not. So
That's right. Thanks again. So before you go, visit us at clarity-ventures.com, schedule a demo, jump on a call with me. Happy to start that complimentary demo. And the last thing, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you on a future webinar. Thanks, Chris. Bye for now, everyone.
thanks, Ron. Bye for now.